Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and talk about our 3/24, so March 24th meeting for our Wednesday night. Let's go ahead and let's get that underway. Now, with that, today we're going to be talking about our polynomials, quadratic equations. Now, you'll notice everything from up here. I have actually taken all of those ed puzzles and I've extended everything prior to this chapter, I think to about May 1st or something like that. My goal here is, if you haven't already accomplished that, if there's anything you're missing from back there, I want you to go do it. Our goal is your success, which means even though I put it on dates for every 2 weeks, I really still want anybody that's behind or anybody that's trying to catch up, I really want them to get caught up and do well, because our goal is your success. Now, this section, if you want your grades done and done on time, needs to be done by April 4th. So this whole section, you'll notice that's actually a couple weeks. So we had this week as part of this, and it's going to go through April 4th. So with that in mind, you should already be working on the polynomials, quadratic equations, yada, yada, yada. Take a look through here. So let's go ahead and let's talk about what's going to be in this section. So let's go to our slides. When we go to the slides, you will notice we have polynomial intro. So what does it mean to be a polynomial? And then we have our practice to go along with it. Then we have our adding and subtracting polynomials. So we're going to put two polynomials together, combining like terms in essence. Then we have polynomial multiplication, more multiplication, then additional multiplication practice. Now remember, guys, these paper homeworks are for your benefit only. They are not to necessarily be turned in, but they're extra practice for you if you wish. The things that need turned in, of course, are the ed puzzles and the delta maths. Those are the ones that you need to do. So again, we have some polynomial practicing. Then we start getting into factoring. Whereas putting together the polynomials is actually not so bad. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, not a big deal. It's when we start taking those things and we start pulling them apart, whether it's factoring out common terms, whether it's taking something like x squared plus 2x plus 1 and really peeling that thing apart. That's where life gets a little bit challenging. I'm going to keep an eye on your progress on this. If we need to extend this a week, I have no problem doing that because this is really key to the course. But remember, if I extend it, that still means we still got the other stuff coming down the road that, you know, it's just going to be a little tighter on. So trying to make sure we keep it balanced. So factoring trinomials and then moving through. Then there's a bunch of practice here. I give you bonus examples in practice because here is some problems, how I did it with my work, and it'll make sense once you've watched. And the same thing here, some more sum and difference practice, then back to more factoring, and then on down. So you'll notice there is a bunch of stuff in here, and this is kind of the first half of this section, because the next section is more polynomials and factoring, more quadratics, and we're going to get even deeper into it. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's talk about a few specific examples of a couple things. So the first thing we talked about, you're going to have introduction. Well, in the intro section, we're going to have things like 3x squared plus 2x plus 7. We're going to talk about different vocabulary words. Like, for example, these are all going to be terms. Terms of the different components that make up a polynomial. Then we can get more specific. We can take these numbers out of here, and those would be considered coefficients. Now, if I have a coefficient that's in the front, that would be the leading coefficient. And again, all of this we'll cover in detail in the ed puzzles, but this is the kind of stuff in the intro. What makes up a polynomial? What are the parts to it? How do I name it? So there's 1, 2, 3 parts. So this would be a trinomial if I'm labeling it by terms. So there's 3 parts trinomial. If I had 6x squared plus 2x, that would be a binomial. because there are two parts. Again, by number of terms. But if I'm looking at it a different way, looking at the powers, this power here is squared. So squared would be quadratic. And I go through why it's called quadratic. So this has three parts, but it's quadratic because of the two. Likewise down here, this only has two parts, but it's still going to be quadratic because it's based on its power. Okay, based on its power, it is quadratic. Now, before long, we're going to take something like this. F of x equals this thing. G of x equals this thing. And so we're going to take these two, we're going to put them together. We're going to say, oh yeah, what is 3f of x? Well, all I have to do is say, oh, that's 3 times f of x. So I have 3 times 3x squared plus 2x plus 7, and I distribute that term. Now, hold that thought. Remember that word distribute, because we're going to come back to it here in just a minute. Now, alternatively, I could take f of x, and I could take g of x, and now I'm just going to add them. So if I say f of x plus g of x, I'm going to take all of f of x. Here he goes. 3x squared plus 2x plus 7 plus g of x, which was 6x squared plus 2x. Here's the good news. For adding and subtracting, short version of the ed puzzle is combine like terms. Because if there's no number or no power outside these parentheses, I don't need them. So all I have to do is combine like terms. So I have 3x squared, 6x squared, that's 9x squared. 2x and 2x is plus 4x. And finally, a number at the end, plus 7. Something like that. Now, I could still combine these and say, oh, what if I want 3f of x plus a certain number g of x, etc. That could be combining some of these processes, and that will allow us to do something else entirely. But what if I have f of x times g of x? In this case, that would be 3x squared plus 2x plus 7 times, and it would be 6x squared plus 2x. And so now we'd want to distribute again, but I got to give this to this, this to this. Okay. This to this, this to this. Okay. And here to here, and here to here. And so before long, I have quite a large polynomial, because squared by squared is going to be 18x to the 4th plus 6x cubed plus 12x cubed plus 4x squared plus 42x squared plus 14x. And then I still have to combine these like terms and get them brought down. So that's the kind of stuff we're doing, putting things together. But now, remember I told you need to remember that word distribute. We're now going to start pulling things apart. So if I start pulling something apart, if I have, say, for example, 12x to the 4th plus 6x cubed plus 18x squared, my question is, what things were maybe multiplied together to get this? Well, the easiest thing I could say is I can see that each of these, 2 times 6, 1 times 6, 3 times 6, each of these has a 6 in it. So I'm going to undistribute, also known as factoring, pull that dude out of there, leaving a 2 here, a 1 here, and a 3 here. I also know that I have x to the 4th, which is the same thing as saying this. X cubed, x squared. Well, let's see here. Can I collect from everybody? This is like playing Monopoly when it says collect $10 from every player. So I'm going to collect 1x from every player and put it out front. I'm going to collect another x from every player and put it out front. And that leaves x squared here plus 1x here plus no x's here because they both got taken away. And now I've taken out what I can, 6x squared, 2x squared plus 1x plus 3. That's not too bad. That's going to be in this section that we're talking about. Basic undistributing, which is, of course, factoring. What's going to get more challenging is when we get into binomial. So, for example, we talked about just a minute ago that a binomial has two pieces. So that means there's something here, something here, something here, something here, rather than a trinomial and a one part. Well, let's see, one part, that's going to be monomial. So monomial, trinomial. We're going to want to go binomial for something like this. I don't know, let's go 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. Now, in this case, you'll notice there's nothing that can be taken out of each piece the same, but in the end, what you're going to learn how to do is break this up and break this up, and you're going to learn how to arrange them into parts that, when we put them back together, are going to make this guy right here. Now you say, well, how do you know that? Well, let's do it. So I have 3x squared plus 3x plus 2x plus 2, and I put those together, 3x squared plus 5x plus 2. Here's the basic principle, guys. What we're going to do here is, this is math class, and so we have all these different chunks. And the first thing we're going to do with all these different chunks is we're going to put them together into some group. But because it's math, we say, well, not only can I put them together, I also want to make sure that I can pull them back apart into their pieces. So I'm going to do something, and then I'm going to learn how to undo something. Okay, that's basically what we're doing with these polynomials, these multiple term algebra statements. Okay, so with that, this is the basic process that we're going to be going through, and the basic content that is ahead of us in this chapter. Now, of course, do we get to that? As always, we got our modules, and we are on polynomials, quadratics. You go to the slides. Don't forget your discussion. Don't forget your discussion. You know what? This one through the 21st. Because we had spring break, here's what I'm going to do on this guy. I am going to extend this through, I'm going to extend this discussion through next week. So go ahead and make sure that you have, come on now, make sure that you have that discussion accomplished. And then likewise, make sure you're keeping up on this week's discussion. You'll notice a lot of the same questions, okay? Let's go ahead and for next week, let me make an adjustment here. And for the week 11 discussion, good. Let's go ahead and, all right, at this point, do you feel, okay, good, excellent. And I'm going to put a third question in here. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to add a little question there, guiding question number 3. Do you feel there is something else that can provide you that will help you with this section? We talked about how we have the Ed Puzzle. We have the Delta Math. The Delta Math, of course, has the help videos in it. It has the help showing example problems. It even shows you your solutions once you have those done. I've also given you some extra practice. I've given you the notes. what else though, guys? Because this is a tough section, and if you're a little frustrated, I get it, okay? But let me know how we can help, because we want to make sure you are successful. Okay, this meeting has gone on quite long enough. And so, as always, here's the deal. I'm going to put this in your email. You can watch this and the Edpuzzle where I put the questions in with it. And this qualifies as your attendance this week. Or you can do this and attend with me tomorrow night at the same bat time, same bat channel. Or you could just attend tomorrow night and not have to do this Edpuzzle at all. The whole point of putting these videos and these Edpuzzles together is to make sure that you, whether you're working, whether you have childcare issues, whatever it is, you can get the basics of the meeting, but at the same time, I'm still available to help you live at the same time, at the same place every week. So trying to make sure we're doing that online live thing, but at the same time, also understanding that life's pretty crazy. So with that, unless you guys have any other questions, I'll let you go. Make sure you email me if you have any questions. Make sure you update absolutely everything that might be missing in the class that you have to owe me. Make sure you get those discussions done every week. Make sure this stuff is done on time. I'll monitor it, and I will look a little closer to the end of next week on how everybody's progressing and let you know if we have to do any extensions or something. All right, sounds good, guys. Thank you.